One of the most frequently asked questions I get all the time is, how do I start Amazon FBA in 2025? So within this video, I'm going to be giving you a full step-by-step walkthrough, breaking everything down of how you would actually go from start to finish of starting your Amazon FBA wholesale business. I'm going to be going through 7 key steps within this video that's going to allow you to start trading. So for those of you who are new and are looking to start selling on Amazon, what actually is Amazon FBA? So Amazon in effect is the largest marketplace in the world. And it's basically a marketplace that allows you as a seller to list your products on there, whether it be already branded products or whether it's your own brand, and actually reach their customer base of billions of customers. So the FBA part actually means fulfillment by Amazon. So FBA is actually a logistics service provided by Amazon, and in my opinion, it's the best logistics service in the world, and especially in the UK. It allows you as a seller to actually send your products and store them in the Amazon warehouse, and then when the customer goes on to Amazon and actually buys the product, Amazon will pick, pack and dispatch the product for you so that it gets to your customer the same or next day. I mean, if you live in London now and you order a product at maybe 10 AM or 11 AM, it's likely that you'll probably receive it within the afternoon, which is pretty crazy. Amazon also handle all of the customer service, the full refund process, basically allowing you to focus on the higher value tasks within the business, which is actually driving the sales and the revenue. Now, the actual concept of selling on Amazon and as a business model, it's actually a very simplistic business. Now, it does require a lot of hard work, and it's definitely far from a get-rich-quick scheme, but if you genuinely put in a lot of hard work, you're super disciplined, and you actually follow the right processes, it can genuinely become a life-changing opportunity, as it has done for myself. Now, one of the best things about Amazon FBA is that you don't need to have a degree. You don't need to have gone to university, and you don't need to be some sort of tech wizard who can, do all these different kind of functions on a computer. It's a very simplistic model. You just need to have the right strategies in place. So for those of you who are seeing my face for the first time, my name is Jack Davey, and I've been in the Amazon space now for almost 5 years. In turn, I've built and scaled my Amazon business to multiple 7 figures per year in revenue, on track to do 8 figures very soon. We've got a warehouse, we've got a full team of staff, and I've turned it into a pretty great business. So there's actually 3 main types of ways that you can sell on Amazon. The first is called online and retail arbitrage. This is where you'll go to a shop or you'll go to an online retail store. You will scour their clearance sections for products that are actually on clearance that you can buy and resell for a profit on Amazon. However, the problem with this is it's not scalable at all, and typically you can only buy a couple of units of a product at a time simply because it's on clearance from the shop. Now, yes, you can make a bit of money on the side from doing this, but in terms of actually building a profitably scalable business, it's just not a good way to do it. Now, the second way is through private label. So this is where you actually start your own brand on Amazon. So you will develop a new product line, you will buy it from China in bulk, and you'll have to register the trademark, you have to create the branding around it, do all of the compliance, and basically just starting your own brand. Now, the issue with this when getting started is it requires a ton of capital up front. It's quite an advanced strategy, so later on down the line in your Amazon journey, it can be great, but to start with, it's really quite capital intensive, and if you get things wrong, the risks can be quite significant due to the significant amount of capital that you've invested initially. And finally, you've got wholesale or brand direct, as some like to call it, which I've been doing now for the past 4.5, 5 years. And this is where you will approach brands and suppliers directly with the intentions of opening up a trade account to buy their products. And typically, you'll be buying these products in large quantities and sometimes even full pallets. Now, the big benefit to doing this is that it's a great cash flow model. You can actually buy a product on day one, and you can have pretty much received your money back within 30 to 40 days of buying the product. You don't have to do all of the research and development that comes with actually setting up your own brand. You don't have to do all the branding, the photography, the product market fit. These are products that are already in demand. You can see from the data that they're already selling, and all you're simply doing is buying it off the brand at a profitable price and then actually taking the product to market. So in effect, you're buying and selling on a large scale. By leveraging the brand's existing demand, along with the best logistics service in the world, which is Amazon's, you can create this great cash flowing business and scale up in a pretty short amount of time. So step 1 of the process is setting up your limited company. Now, a lot of people ask me, why go limited straight away? Isn't it more beneficial to do it as a sole trader or an individual? Now, the simple answer to that is no, and that's for a couple of different reasons. First of all, it makes it so much easier when it comes to actually contacting these brands and opening up trade accounts. Because ultimately, these are B2B businesses, and they want to deal with other businesses. They don't want to deal with an individual or a sole trader. So it just makes it easier in that regard. Now, second of all, you have limited liability. Now, because it's a limited company, if anything happens to that company, or if anything happens inside of it, you personally are not liable for that. And thirdly, it keeps business and personal separate. Especially when I first started, I sort of mixed the both and it made it very hard to track, very confusing. And when it actually came to filing my accounts and my year end, it made everything 10 times harder. So I'd recommend just making the split initially. And realistically, if you're looking to take Amazon seriously, you're gonna have to go limited at some point anyway, so you may as well just do it properly from the start. Now, how do you do this? You just go to the government website and register a limited company. And it costs around £50 if you are in the UK, and it's a pretty simple process. After you've registered your limited company, you will also need to set up a business bank account. So I'll probably recommend going to one of the high street banks and opening up a business account with them. It's probably easier if you open up a business account with the banking provider that you already have your personal account with, because they've already got your details and they've already got that level of rapport built. Step number 2 is setting up your Amazon Seller Central account. So what you want to do is head over to the Seller Central website, click sign up for an account, and you want to always sign up for the professional account. So when you're first signing up, it will either give you the option to do an individual selling account or a professional selling account. Now, an individual selling account is free. However, you're only allowed to sell up to 30 items per month, and it shouldn't actually be for business use. It should only be for selling spare items or unwanted items that you have in your home as an individual. But with a professional account, it costs £25 plus VAT per month, and it gives you a lot lower fees than an individual account, and it allows you to sell as many items as you want. So you always want to register as a professional account there. Now, step number 3 is setting up your professional brand image. So first of all, you may be wondering what actually is a professional brand image and how do I actually make one? So a professional brand image is things like your website, your limited company, having an email domain, a proper email domain that matches your limited company, having an email signature, having a landline address, all these different kind of things that are actually going to legitimize you as a business and separate you from an individual as opposed to an actual business. And this is so key when you get to the stage of opening up direct brand accounts, which again, I'm going to cover later on in the video. So when it comes to setting up your professional brand image, step number 1 is actually to go and buy a domain. So you can go to a website like GoDaddy, you can choose and purchase a domain on there. It's usually around £5 to £10 for a standard domain, maybe a little bit more expensive if it's a desirable name. So you then want to buy the domain and link it to your Google profile, okay? So this will allow you to set up a professional email address. So how you want it to look is, say for example, my company was called J Enterprises. I would want my email address to be jackdavey@jenterprises.co.uk. And again, this just solidifies the fact that you are a proper business. So the next thing you want to do is build your website. So what you want to do here is go to a website like Wix.com, which is like a website building platform. And you want to link the domain that you've just bought into that website, create an account, and then create your website based off that. Now, it doesn't need to be the best website in the world. It just needs to be pretty clean looking, pretty professional. It doesn't need to have any products on there, and it can be non-transactional. Now, just remember, the only people that are really going to be looking at this website are the suppliers who you're making inquiries with. And again, the purpose of having the website is just to solidify that professional brand and business image. So the next thing you want to do is set up an email signature. So this is the piece that sits at the bottom of your email that will basically be the sign-off to every single email that you send. So you'll type out your email, and then every single email will just automatically add this signature at the bottom, basically signing off the email with your name, your phone number, your email address, your contact details. You just basically want to make it look slick, clean, professional, and again, it just solidifies to these brands that you are actually a genuine business. Now you can do this through your Google account and the same one that you linked your domain to when you set up your email address. The next thing you want to do is register a landline number, or you can actually get a virtual landline number. So a virtual landline number is basically a landline number, but it directs straight to your mobile number. So for the brand calling, if you give them your landline number, it will look like they're actually calling a landline number, which again will solidify the fact to them that they're calling an actual business. But in effect, it'll actually just go through to your mobile. So if you go to virtuallandline.co.uk, you can buy a virtual landline number. I think it's a couple of pounds a month, but I would definitely say it's worth it when taking into consideration your brand image. Okay, so that's pretty much all of your business foundations set up. At this point, you should have your limited company registered, you should have a business bank account, you should have a professional Amazon selling account with all the information verified, and you should actually have a website and your business profile set up. So it's at this point, we now want to move on to step 4 of the process, which is actually sourcing the products. Now this step is arguably the highest value skill in the whole business, because if you get this bit wrong and you're doing it incorrectly, it can genuinely negatively impact every single stage you do after this within the business. So it's so important that you know what type of products to look for and you're actually contacting and searching for the right brands. So what do I actually mean by sourcing a product? So in effect, it's pretty much product analysis at this stage. Now, we call this bit step 1 of the validation process, and it's the initial validation checks. So the initial product validation stage is where we're actually just going out to Amazon and we're searching for listings that meet our specific criteria. And in this instance, the initial validation checks. Now, the reason why we do this is because before wasting our time searching through Google for a load of crappy wholesalers or actually contacting brands that don't actually meet our requirements, we want to make sure that we're contacting the right type of brands that we're actually going to be able to sell on the listings for years and years to come. Because ultimately what we're looking for is highly replenishable products that we're able to just consistently buy month on month. Now, I spent years at the start of my journey finding the wrong type of products, the wrong type of listings, and it just meant that I was selling on really volatile listings that were getting saturated pretty easily. The pricing was all over the place. Like one time I'd be selling a product at £10, the next day it would be like £8, and my margin would be all over the place, makes it extremely hard to track, and it basically makes the products not become replenishable because they just get way too saturated. So what we actually want to be looking for at this stage is products that are niche specific, they're not the big well-known brands that you see in all of the supermarkets, and they're actually quite high barriers to entry, so they're not easily accessible for every Joe Blogs to just go and buy and sell on Amazon. And this is why we split the validation process into 2 separate steps. The first one is the initial validation checks, like I've just mentioned, and we have a set criteria of exactly what we're looking for in a product. I'll link a video in the description where I cover this in a bit more depth. And the second part of the process is actually the advanced validation checks, which is basically risk mitigation before we actually buy a product to make sure that it's not going to be saturated and we're not going to lose money on it. But I'll explain a bit more about that later on in the video. So I'm just going to jump in and show you a quick live demonstration of what I think is a good listing on Amazon and the types of listings that I think you should be sourcing. So jumping straight into this, there are 2 main softwares that we actually use for our product analysis. The first one being Jungle Scout, which you can see here at the top. And we use this to basically analyze all of the sales data from each product, brand or listing. So as we can see from this tool here, it gives us a 3-month, a 6-month, a 1-year and a 2-year time span. So at the moment, I am looking at the data from the previous 2 years, and I'm looking at it on a monthly time horizon. So as we can see, from March last year, the sales have been very consistent at about 700 to 800 sales per month, has dropped slightly to 600 per month, but generally speaking, it's a pretty high sales volume for this kind of product. The second software that we use is actually called Barbot Pro, which is just on the right-hand side here, and we can use this to look at all of the data analytics from the previous years to show the consistency of the listing, who's been selling on it, and at what price. So jumping into the product, as you can see, first of all, it's a very niche specific product. Some kind of pharmaceutical product that is like a dressing for wounds, right? It's a pretty niche product that you don't just see on the shelves in your local supermarkets. And it's probably a brand that you've never heard of before. So we can see it's got good sales per month. The next thing we want to look at is to see how many sellers are on it, because it's sort of irrelevant how many sales the listing is doing per month. If there's 100 competitors on this listing, then you're going to be getting barely any of the sales. So the next thing we want to do is see how many FBA sellers are on there. So you'd use Barbot Pro's competition analysis tool, and you'd basically just select Prime. So all the ones in the green here are pretty much our competition. So as you can see at the moment, there's only 1 FBA seller. If we were selling on this listing, we would actually be getting a good proportion of those 750 sales per month, because realistically, there's not actually that much competition. Whereas if there was 10 FBA sellers on there, it would be a completely different story and you would only be getting a very small proportion of the sales. The next thing we're looking for is consistency. So as you can see here from the pricing chart data, the listing has been pretty consistent with the pricing. So this purple line here indicates the Amazon FBA lowest price at any one point. So as you can see, it fluctuates between about £8.48 and £9.99. But it looks very consistent along with the seller count underneath it. So this is the great thing about Barbot Pro, is it just shows you all of the analytics so that you're able to actually analyze these products before wasting your time contacting the wrong type of brand. So what we're looking for here on the seller count is a low consistent number. So in effect, the seller count is the amount of sellers on a listing at any one time. So as we can see here, on the 29th of December, the new offer count was 9. So that means total the amount of sellers that were on the listing were 9. However, that doesn't mean that all of the 9 sellers were actually FBA sellers. Probably 7 or 8 of them were actually FBM sellers, which realistically aren't our competition because their delivery date is a couple of days' time, and FBA typically win the buy box over FBM a majority of the time, just simply because the delivery date is way sooner, even if you are at a higher price with FBA. So inside the AMZ blueprint, we do actually have a full structured process that we follow for each and every product, basically just to filter out all of the good products versus the bad products. But in a simple terms, this is what a good product listing looks like. So that will give you a good idea on the types of products that you should be looking at. And typically the process that we go through is we will bulk source these products. So I'll maybe spend 2 to 4 hours every couple of weeks just sourcing maybe 50, 100, 150 of those products so that we can actually move on to the next step of the process, which is the outreaching and contacting supplier stage. So what do I actually mean by contacting and outreaching the brand? So once you've got the initial product opportunity sourced and it meets all of your validation checks, you will then want to actually outreach to the brand and contact them. Typically via phone call is the best way we have found, contacting the brand in order to open up a direct trade account with them. So this is where all of the hard work that we've done previously in setting up our limited company, creating our professional brand image, having that email domain, having that email signature is going to come in so handy, because it's going to make your chances at this stage significantly higher in actually getting the account open, as opposed to just contacting them as, Jack Davey from his bedroom on a standard Gmail account. So the way you make the inquiry is super important. You want to position yourself as a legitimate, genuine business, okay? Even if you are at this stage just a bedroom reseller, that's definitely not how you want to portray yourself. You want to portray yourself as a genuine and legitimate company, and this is where all of your business credentials will come into play. So you want to contact the brand, open up the trade account with them, and then you will basically be sent an account form and a price list from that brand. And when I say brand, I mean we always want to be contacting the brand directly. At this stage of the process, we want to cut out as many middlemen as possible. So we don't want to be searching through Google trying to find a wholesaler or a distributor. We want to be actually going onto the brand website directly, finding a direct contact number for their sales department or their accounts department, and actually calling up and trying to get that direct account. So once you've gone through this process and you've managed to open the account, they will send you an account form and a pricing file. And this is when you need to go through and select the products that you're actually interested in and work out whether the prices that they've given you off the bat are profitable enough to sell on Amazon. Even if your products are profitable from day one, I would still recommend contacting the supplier and actually negotiating the price down with them. And the reason for this is because if you're opening an account with a brand and you get sent a price list, you're going to get sent the same price list as if any other Amazon seller who makes the inquiry will actually get the same price list. So what you want to actually do is give yourself a competitive advantage by trying to negotiate that price down as much as possible. Even if you're making 20% margin off the bat, you still want to go through this process and negotiate the lowest price you possibly can. Our objectives during this stage are simply to open the account up with the brand, get sent a price list, and negotiate the most profitable terms possible. So at the end of this stage, you've now opened the account with the brand, you've sourced some profitable pricing, and you may be at 20% margin, 25% margin, and then you move on to the next stage of the process. So the contacting of the brands and the negotiation stage is arguably the hardest and the most highest value skill within your Amazon business. It's where you will face rejections on a daily basis trying to get the accounts open with these brands. You're going to be faced with a ton of objections, and it's your job to position and articulate your business in such a way that's able to overcome these objections, present them with value and perceived value to actually get the account open. And this is something that we cover for all of our AMZ Blueprint students in significant depth. It's the most important task within the business. So we break down exactly how you should position your business, how you should actually contact these brands, what kind of language should you use, what kind of industry terminology should you use, what you should say to these brands, and overall how to communicate effectively, as I feel like that is the biggest part that most Amazon sellers struggle with. We also do this with the negotiations phase, as arguably that's as important as the contacting of the brand initially. We give you templates, call structures, email structures. We basically give you everything that I use in my own Amazon FBA business to get it to the point where it's at now, where it's at multiple 7 figures per year in revenue, on track to do 8 figures within the next 12 months. And we give you everything that I've used to get it to this stage in the business is all inside the AMZ Blueprint, accessible to all of our students. So if you are really serious about starting Amazon FBA, go to the description of this video where you can book a call with myself and we can just have an informal conversation about exactly where it is you're at right now and what you're looking to achieve and whether it would actually be able to help you. And if we can't help you, we will simply just tell you, and you will always come off the call better than when you jumped on. So at this stage, you've now sourced the product, you've opened the account with the brand, and you've managed to negotiate profitable pricing, which means you have to move on to the next step, which is actually purchasing the product and sending it into Amazon. So once you've negotiated the profitable pricing and terms, you need to send the order over to the supplier. And what will happen then is they will then ship the product directly out to yourself. So whether this is to your residential address or whether you use a prep center, you will then have to prep the products, and maybe you'll have to put it in a bundle, maybe in a pack of 2, a pack of 4, a pack of 5. However the product is sold on Amazon and whatever pack size the listing is, you will need to pack the products accordingly to that. Whilst prepping the products, you'll actually have to put your own FN SKU label on the product. So this basically just identifies your product in the Amazon warehouse specifically to your business, because there could be 10 different people all selling the same product as you, but you each have your own FN SKU barcode, which basically separates your stock so that your stock doesn't get confused with another seller's. So once you put it into specific pack sizes, put your labels on it, you will then be ready to send it off in bulk to Amazon. Now you can either do this through boxes, through UPS, which is a partner carrier of Amazon's, or you can do it through pallets, which at our stage, we are sending off about 5 to 10 pallets of stock per week to the Amazon fulfillment centers. It's at this stage, you've sent the products off and you have to wait maybe 5 to 10 to 14 days for the products to actually be received and checked into the Amazon warehouse. The products will then go live in the Amazon warehouse, your stock will be checked in, and it will be available for customers to purchase. And step number 7 is to simply rinse and repeat this process. If you really get good at finding great product opportunities, contacting brands and negotiating with them, these products that you're putting all the hard work in up front, trying to find them, will actually pay you dividends on the back end. And what I mean by this is, if you find a great product, sometimes it can last a year, 3 years, 5 years. We're still selling some of the brands and the products that we sourced 4 or 5 years ago when I first started my journey. And all we simply have to do every single month is simply buy these products off the brand, prep them, and send them into Amazon. All of the initial sourcing work and the hard work is done up front when sourcing the product, and you get paid for years and years to come. So hopefully you have found a ton of value within this video, and you've actually got a lot more clarity on the specific business model and how to actually execute. But if you are either an existing Amazon seller or an aspiring Amazon seller looking to take your Amazon business to the next level using all of my systems, my processes, my templates, everything that I've used in my own Amazon business, go to the description of this video, book in a call, and I'll see you inside. So on this call, we'll establish exactly where you're at right now, whether you're completely fresh to Amazon or whether you're already maybe doing 20 or 30K per month in sales. We'll establish exactly where it is you want to get to and what your goals. If we can help you, perfect, great. We'll explain exactly what we offer and how we can help you. And if not, I promise we will just tell you there and then on the call, and you always leave the call better off than when you started. So go to the description of the video, book in a call, and I'll see you on there.